The Queen is back, baby! Hello, interwebs. Yes, I am here to give you my feelings, my excitement, and my thoughts about the recent revelation that Kate Mulgrew, Catherine Janeway herself, will be reprising her iconic role from Star Trek Voyager in the upcoming Nickelodeon Star Trek series, Star Trek Prodigy. Now, for those of you who don't know, Star Trek Prodigy, like I said, is going to be a Nickelodeon-based show that is meant to be targeted at a younger audience, more like preteens, teenagers, sort of like think of Star Wars Rebels or Star Wars Clone Wars, back when Clone Wars sort of started until it became a little bit more mature as the series went on. But think about that level of show, or She-Ra would also be a good example of sort of the age group. I'm expecting a show that is very much aimed at kids, but also can be enjoyed by people who are older. Like, I love She-Ra, I really like Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Rebels, those sort of things. So I'm expecting a show that younger kids can watch and are the target express audience, but something a little bit that everyone can kind of enjoy if you kind of get into those types of animated shows and kind of feel their vibe. And the show we know is going to feature a group of kids on some sort of ship. We don't know if it's a starship or like a small shuttle or whatever it is, and they're going to be led, as we learned at the recent New York Comic-Con panel, the day that I'm shooting this. I'm not entirely sure when I'll be putting up this video, but the day that I'm shooting this, we learned that Captain Janeway will be coming back and leading that crew of children, with Kate Mulgrew reprising her role in animated form, which, first off, let me just start off with the feelings and excitement. Oh my god, I am just so excited and exuberant at this fact. Captain Janeway is one of the most iconic and memorable captains. You know, my favorite personal captain overall in Star Trek, besides Captain Archer, because Captain Archer is, you know, Scott Bakula, and I just like Scott Bakula. But truly, my favorite captain, the one that I look up to the most, is definitely Commander Sisko. Or Captain Sisko. See, he started off as commander, made it to captain. The man has ambition. We get to see him grow and learn over his time. But I loved Captain Sisko. But there's no putting down the fact that Captain Janeway, like Captain Sisko as well, was such a true inspiration for so many, especially so many women out there who finally, in Star Trek, had a role model to look up to as the captain of a series. Someone who could take charge, could lead. But also, there's this other thing with Voyager, and I've talked about this in other videos, that unfortunately, Voyager, while I do love it, and I think it does have some really great standout episodes, and Janeway herself was such a rich, complex character, often on the back of Kate Mulgrew's amazing performance of her, there was a few times where, unfortunately, Janeway got a little bit shafted, didn't get as much to do or say as that character really could and should have said, unlike compared to maybe Picard, who had 7 seasons and 4 movies and another TV show that recently came out to develop his character, or Sisko, who was given these like really complex moral stories to sort of delve his teeth into. But Voyager often, a lot of the time, felt like a retread of TNG, sort of telling very similar stories. And again, there is a lot of uniqueness to love about Voyager. I'm not Steve Shives here. I'm not hating on Janeway. But there was some failures with that character, even amongst the absolute success and importance that she has to the Star Trek franchise as a whole. So to have Kate Mulgrew back in this franchise is such a beautiful, amazing, exciting thing to have, to give this character another chance to get full fruition, to really show what she can do, and show what Kate Mulgrew can do. Star Trek has had a long history of having really brilliant, intelligent, thoughtful actors. Sometimes even actors who are way outside the league of what Star Trek was at the time. Like, for example, Patrick Stewart. I mean, he wasn't the big name that he is today. He got there because of Star Trek. But even then, like, there was this sort of like, what's this weird little sci-fi show that this Shakespearean actor is on? Again, not to disparage TNG. It definitely lived up to him eventually. But Kate Mulgrew, out of all those actors, is someone who I've always seen as not just a role model in and of herself on the show of Voyager, but she is such a very thoughtful, intelligent, well-read. In fact, every time you listen to an interview with Kate Mulgrew, she is so well-read and thoughtful about everything. There is also some darker history, if you look into the history of the behind-the-scenes on Voyager, of what happened with Kate Mulgrew and sort of the women against women thing that happened there with her and Jerry Ryan. And so I'm honestly just honored that she gets to come back to a show that will, I think, accept her, give her her rightful place that she kind of deserves, both behind and in front of the camera, or camera because it's animated, and also just bring this brilliant woman back into the franchise in a place that can really let her thrive, I think. So I'm just so excited for that element of it. The other thing, too, that I will mention, and I kind of talked about this in a recent live stream, I really think that Star Trek Prodigy might be one of the most important, if not the most important Star Trek show right now. I'm not saying it's going to be the best or most exciting. It might be. It could suddenly come out of the gate and be one of the best Star Trek shows ever made. I definitely don't think that's out of the question. But I do think it is going to be the most important. The thing with Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks is these are, I love all of those shows to varying degrees. But they are a little bit insider baseball. Discovery probably being the least made for Trek fans, where a lot of it is more accessible to non-Star Trek fans. Picard a little less accessible. And then Lower Decks, I think probably, as much as I love it and think it's probably the best of those three so far, at least from what we've seen at the time of this recording, Lower Decks is definitely the most made for Trekkies by Trekkies feeling. But all three of those shows are fairly reliant, to some degree or another, on past incarnations of Star Trek. But I also feel like a show that is going to try and target a younger audience and bring them into Trek is going to be what is going to be so important with keeping this franchise alive for another 50 years. The thing with Star Trek is it's very good at keeping its fans. Even the fans who hate watch Star Trek, they hate Discovery, Picard, Lower Decks, they will still watch it because they were fans of the show previously. But outside of the Kelvin films, which was the last mass scooping up of a new audience for Trek, I really don't think that there's been a large influx of new Star Trek fans. Again, there probably have been with Discovery, with Picard, with Lower Decks. I'm sure there have been some. My ex-partner, I should say, who is still my friend and we watch Star Trek together, got into Star Trek because of these shows. She likes Discovery. She likes Lower Decks. But she got into it because of me, because I brought her to it. And that's the case with a lot of Star Trek fans. Prodigy is a chance for a show to really allow new Trek fans to discover Star Trek on their own terms, not just having a parent or a friend bring them into it, which is how so many Trek fans got into it. Hell, I got into it because of my father. But I really think there's something to be said about discovering something on your own and getting really excited about it on your own terms. And so I really think that Prodigy being this new gateway into Star Trek is something that Star Trek of this era really needs right now. Because, some kids aren't going to be interested by TNG. They'll see it as too kind of oldie folks sort of thing. The original series might be too campy for them. Prodigy can be a way to be like, hey, here's something that can show you how wonderful and beautiful this world, this message of this world of diversity and inclusion is, and bring them in to share them with this universe, and then hopefully they will go back and find TNG or TOS or even DS9 and Voyager. Probably Voyager first because of Janeway. And so I really like the idea that Janeway is sort of going to be this gateway into this part of the series, because I really think that she is a great character for it, a great role model for it in so many ways, to young women, but also to strong leaders, to show strong leadership potential. I think it's just a great choice all around. The one thing I do want to be thoughtful of, or just thinking about, and be kind of critical of, and when I say critical, I don't mean negative, or hating on, or thinking bad of, but just sort of poking and saying, that's an interesting thought. Let's think about this, and think about what it implies and what it means. And it's just something that struck me. And again, I'm not being critical. It's just a thought that I have that I want to bring up and sort of postulate to you on your thoughts on it. Is that Kate Mulgrew, when she announced this at New York Comic Con, she stated that she was such a great character. Janeway was such a great character for women, and now she gets to be the first women captain. And this is basically a quote of hers, she gets to be the first captain for children. And she meant that both in world and out of the world in Star Trek. And I do wonder, to a degree, how much the decision to choose Janeway to lead this series might have been instigated by the fact that she is a woman. Again, this is not me being negative or hating on that. But there is this idea of women being the caretaker, nurturing parent, caring for children role in our society. And Star Trek, both past and previous, and I think modern Star Trek has moved past this in a brilliant way, especially in shows like Discovery. We have characters like Michael Burnham, or Tilly, or Joe, who are really strong women separate from being nurturing figures. But Next Generation, you definitely saw characters like Troy or Crusher being put in these sort of matriarchal or femininely coded roles of doctor or counselor. And so I do wonder, just thinking about it, what was it saying that the woman character gets to be the first captain for children? And again, I'm not postulating anger or hating on. It's like, how dare they make the woman the caretaker for children? I am exuberant and excited and happy about this decision to have Janeway in here. But I am also just sort of curious. Again, I'm not... maybe I'm over-harping on this point, but I just want to be clear. I'm not hating on this choice. It's just an interesting sort of connection that I see here that I just put out to you to just think about and wonder about as sort of an interesting choice with this iteration of the franchise. And maybe there is something to be said that we're going to be seeing her as our captain of children rather than like the admiral that we got to see her in Star Trek Nemesis. And again, it will all play out in execution. Again, I'm not hating on it, but it's just a thought. So, but overall, my overriding feeling towards this news is excitement, exuberance, just so passionate, and I am so excited to see what Star Trek Prodigy is going to be delivering to us in the future. Again, as I said in my Lower Decks review, it is a good time to be a Star Trek fan right now, and this is just emblematic of all of that. A huge thank you to my amazing patrons who make this channel happen, and an extra special thank you to Miranda Janelle, Ashley Allen Bokikio, Eli Berg-Moss, Ashlyn Solstice, Christina Dalliance, Greg Gillum, Stephen Kleinard, Boyd and Mary Beth Earl, Wellington Marcus, Wayne Twitchell, Buttoneer, Ish the Mad, Munir Amlani, John Steele, Gavin Robinson, William Stewart, Michael Beam, Spock TOS, BBD, Nathan Olson, The Sir Spence, Zach Cody, Bree Beecher, Maeve, Chloe Dollar, Subraxis, Wen Dizzle Bizzle, Tanya Trummer, Gretchen Badger, Dante St. James, Polly Mina, Piston Twisted Garage, Mark the Edge, and Din. I could not do this without all of you, so thank you so much, especially this month.